I'm Andy Smith. I'm a missionary with OMF International, and I've served in the Philippines since 1989. OMF Literature has published 5 of my books, and the most recent one is titled The Majesty of Jesus. It looks at who Jesus is and what it means to believe in him from the Gospel of John. And our lesson today is based on a chapter from that book. Now, we recently celebrated Christmas, and we rejoiced in the fact that God took on flesh and entered our world. And that's one of the reasons why we call Jesus the Son of God. But we rarely think about that title and what it means. And that's actually the purpose of this particular lesson, is to consider just what that particular title means. Now, several individuals in the Bible besides Jesus are called Son of God. A few groups are also referred to as sons of God, but none of them were, of course, God's children in the natural way. Instead, they received this title because he either created them or set them apart for a certain purpose. Now, a son honors his father by being like him and by doing what he does. But none of the individuals or groups in the Bible called sons of God perfectly honored God. Each one, even the best, failed. Then came Jesus. He referred to God as his Father. He called himself the Son of God, and he obeyed God perfectly. Now we'll be looking at John 5. At the start of that chapter, it tells us that Jesus went up to Jerusalem. He healed a man on the day of rest. And because of this, the Jews began persecuting him. They felt he had broken the law as they understood it. And their opposition then compelled him to prove his identity and authority. And that's what he does here in John chapter 5, verses 17 through 30, which is what we'll now look at bit by bit. And throughout this passage, we'll see that Jesus called God Father and referred to himself as the Son. Let's first look at verses 17 and 18 of John chapter 5. Jesus answered them, "My Father is working until now, and I am working." This was why the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. It's as if Jesus said to these Jews, God my Father also works on Sabbaths. Are you accusing him of breaking the law? And so the Jews understood that he was claiming to be totally unique, hugely different from all other messengers that God had sent. Now let's look at verses 19 and 20. So Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, that the Son does likewise. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all that he himself is doing. And greater works than these will he show him, so that you may marvel." So here Jesus referred to himself as the Son, and he claimed to do God's will instead of his own. He knew what God's will was because he could see into heaven. God showed him, not the Jewish leaders, all that he was doing. So by these statements, Jesus implied that God the Father's love for him was very different than his love for the Jewish leaders. Jesus had a special relationship with God that they lacked. Let's look now at verses 21 to 24. For as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, so also the Son gives life to whom he will. The Father judges no one, but he has given all judgment to the Son, that all may honor the Son just as they honor the Father. Whoever does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life. He does not come into judgment, but is passed from death to life. So Jesus claimed here that he can do more than heal the sick, as he had done in the first part of the chapter. Here he says he can raise the dead, giving them life. And this ability is related to the authority to judge that God the Father gave him. Jesus will condemn to eternal punishment all who do not believe. On the other hand, those who believe already have eternal life. He will not judge, sentence, or punish them. This unique authority is why Jesus deserves to be honored in the same way that God the Father is honored. In fact, Jesus claimed that anyone who fails to honor him also fails to honor God the Father. Ever since Jesus came to earth, it is no longer enough to only honor the Father. Well, let's look at the final verses in the passage, verses 25 to 30. Truly, truly, I say to you, an hour is coming, and is now here, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son also to have life in himself. And he has given him authority to execute judgment, because he is the Son of Man. Do not marvel at this, for an hour is coming, when all who are in the tombs will hear his voice, and come out. Those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to the resurrection of judgment. I can do nothing on my own. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of him who sent me. So Jesus' teaching up to this point was so important that he repeated it. Although he added some details in these verses, it's the same message. So basically, these were his claims. I know God's timing. The dead will hear my voice. I have life in myself. I am the judge. I judge justly because I do it based on what the God the Father tells me. Those who believe will be raised to life. Those who did not believe will be raised only to be judged and punished. Now, Abraham the patriarch never made such claims. Even Moses, God didn't give Moses, the prophet, the great leader of Israel, that much authority. So Jesus believed that he is the Son of God. He's a Son of God in a manner completely different, way beyond that of all others who received that title. So what does Jesus' being the Son of God mean for us? Well, first, it means that we've put our faith in the right one. We are not the followers of a Son of God who failed to honor God all the time. Instead, we are followers of the one and only perfect Son of God. He has life in himself. He has the authority to judge. He will raise the dead. Because of our faith in him, we have passed from death to life. He has given us eternal life. Of all the individuals and groups called sons of God, we've put our faith in the right one. Second, Jesus' example as the Son of God challenges us to live as children of God. And we can say that faithful children of God honor God by being like him and by doing what he does. So immorality, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, fighting, jealousy, anger, selfish ambition, envy, and drunkenness have no place in their lives. Instead, their lives are full of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Plus, they do what God the Father is doing. They love all people, even their enemies. They help the sick, the poor, and the oppressed. They give sacrificially so that people can be saved from their sins. Now I just want to quickly give you some guide questions that you can use to discuss this passage further in your small groups. Number one, I say study the following Bible individuals and groups using the passages and questions given. There's a handout that you can download, which will make it easier because there's quite a bit of information in here. And after you have studied each of them, answer the question, did any of these sons of God perfectly honor God by being like him and by doing what he does all the time? Letter A, in Luke 3:38, what was Adam called? And according to Genesis 3, verses 6 to 12, what sins did he commit? Letter B, in Exodus 4, verses 21 to 23, what did the Lord call his people? According to Deuteronomy 32, 15 to 18, what sins did they commit? By the way, they're called Jeshurun in this passage. Letter C, in Job 1:6, what were the angels called? Your version of the Bible might not use angel, so you might have to look in the notes to make sure you see that this verse is about angels. Then according to Isaiah 14, verses 13 to 14, what sins had the fallen angel Satan committed? Letter D, in Psalm 89, verses 20 to 27, it was prophesied that David would call God by what title, and that God would make him the what? But then according to 2 Samuel 11, verses 2 to 5 and 14 to 17, what sins did David commit? Letter E, in 2 Samuel 7, verses 4 to 5a and 12 to 15, what did the Lord call David's son Solomon? According to 1 Kings 11, 4 to 10, what sins did Solomon commit? Letter F, in Psalm 82, 6 to 7, what did God call the rulers or judges of the nations? And according to that same Psalm 82, verses 1 to 5, what sins did the rulers or judges of the nations commit? Then number 2, list the things that Jesus said and did and said in John 5, 17 to 30, which prove that he is the perfect Son of God. Number 3, in what ways does your life show that you believe Jesus is the Son of God? And number 4, what else can you do to live as a child of God, that is, to be like him and to do what he does? Enjoy the study.